The streets lie empty beneath a dark sky, their stone surfaces cool and silent, as if the weight of the empire has been set aside for a few brief hours. Doorways are closed, windows are dark, even the dogs have gone quiet. Rome, for now, is only a shape present, but not yet awake. Inside a large household, far from the streets, someone opens his eyes. There is no sound that wakes him, no bell, no voice, no light slipping through shutters. He wakes because he always wakes at this hour. His body knows the time better than his thoughts do. Years of repetition have trained him to rise before morning announces itself. He does not stretch, he does not linger. He lies still for a moment, listening to the slow, measured sound of his own breathing in the dark. Each breath is shallow, careful, as if even the air might notice him moving too soon. This is the hour that belongs to slaves, before the master stirs, before the household breathes as one, before the city remembers itself. Slaves wake while Rome is still a sleeping thing, heavy and unaware of the hands that already prepare it for the day ahead. The darkness is complete. There is no sense yet of where the walls end or the floor begins. He knows the space only by memory, the narrow strip of ground where he sleeps, the rough texture beneath him, the closeness of stored objects or other bodies resting nearby. Privacy does not exist here, only permission. He remains still, because stillness is safety. Every sound carries meaning in a Roman household. A footstep could be a summons. A shift in the air could mean the day has begun earlier than expected. Until then, silence is a shield. Somewhere beyond these walls, Rome waits. Temples stand empty. Markets are motionless. The great roads that carry soldiers and senators alike hold no footsteps. The empire is paused, but his work is not. In this quiet hour, he prepares himself without moving. He rehearses the day that will unfold exactly as the one before it. Tasks already known. Commands already anticipated. There will be no surprises, only endurance. He does not think of the sun. The sun belongs to free people, those who wake with light and begin their days when the world is ready to receive them. His day begins before the world exists at all. In the darkness, he exhales slowly. Rome still sleeps, and beneath its silence, unseen and unnamed, the day has already begun. There is no door to close, no space that belongs to him alone. The place where he rests exists only because it is unused by anyone else. A corner of a corridor, a space beside storage jars, a patch of floor near the kitchen wall where warmth lingers after the fire dies down. This is where he is allowed to sleep. The ground beneath him is hard, familiar in the way discomfort becomes familiar over time. He knows every uneven stone, every place where the floor presses into bone. His body has learned how to arrange itself so that pain arrives slowly, not all at once. There is no mattress, perhaps a thin blanket, worn and smelling faintly of old smoke and sweat. Sometimes not even that. Around him, others sleep in similar places, close enough that their breathing overlaps in the dark. Not close enough to speak. Even rest is shared without intimacy. They lie where they fit, where they are placed, where they are forgotten until needed again. This is not a bedroom, it is a pause. Sleep here is not comfort, it is function. The body shuts down because it must be ready to work again. Dreams are brief, easily broken. The slightest sound can pull him back into waking awareness, a distant movement, a cough, the shift of a weight somewhere in the house. He has learned to sleep lightly. Deep sleep is dangerous. It makes the body slow, the mind fog. If a command comes and he does not rise quickly enough, there will be consequences. So even in rest, he remains partly awake, balanced on the edge of consciousness. He does not leave anything behind when he sleeps. No personal objects, no signs of self. There is nothing to mark this space as his once he stands up. When morning comes, it will return to being a hallway, a corner, a piece of the household that exists for someone else. This is how the house prefers it. To belong nowhere is safer than belonging somewhere that can be taken away. In the darkness before dawn, his body rests where it is permitted, not where it is comfortable, not where it is chosen, simply where it does not interfere. Soon, he will rise, the space will forget him, and the house will continue, as if he had never been there at all. There is no moment of choosing to open his eyes, no gentle return from sleep. Awareness arrives all at once, sharp and complete, as if he has been waiting just beneath the surface the entire time. His body knows the hour. It always does. For a moment, he remains still. Stillness is habit. Stillness is protection. He listens again to the house sits deep, sleeping quiet, the way the silence settles into the walls. No footsteps yet, no voice calling a name that may not even be his, only breathing, his own, and the faint sound of others nearby. He does not stretch. Stretching would mean taking up space, and space is something he is careful with. Instead, he lets his muscles tighten slowly, preparing themselves for work they already remember. Yesterday is still in his body, the ache in his back, the dull stiffness in his legs. None of it has had time to leave. He does not think in terms of morning. Morning belongs to people who wake with light, who mark the day by the movement of the sun. His time is measured differently, by routine, by expectation, by the quiet certainty that he must be ready before anyone asks if he is. Choice does not enter into it. If he were to remain lying here too long, even by accident, it would be noticed. Slaves are expected to anticipate the day, to be awake before being summoned, to exist in a state of readiness that never truly ends, not fully rising yet, but no longer asleep, balanced in that narrow space between rest and obligation. His mind clears itself quickly. There is no room for lingering dreams. Dreams are indulgent. Dreams belong to nights that end gently. This night does not end gently. Soon the household will stir. Soon movement will replace silence. When that happens, he must already be there, standing, listening, waiting. In the darkness, before the first sound of morning, he exhales quietly and begins to move. Before he stands, before he moves into the day, there is a truth that presses down on him as steadily as the darkness around him. He is owned. In Rome, this is not metaphor, it is law. His body, his labor, the hours of his life, each of them belongs to someone else. He is counted alongside furniture, tools, and land, bought, sold, inherited, given away. He does not need to think about this to know it. The knowledge sits quietly in him, shaping every movement before it happens. It determines how he stands, how he lowers his eyes, how quickly he responds when spoken to. Ownership is not something he feels once. It is something he lives inside of. He cannot leave. He cannot refuse. He cannot decide that today will be different. Even his stillness is permitted only because it serves a purpose. He rests so that he may work again. He sleeps so that the household may function. His existence is justified only by usefulness. The law of Rome does not ask who he is, it asks what he can do. Some slaves are treated with care, others with cruelty. But all of them share this same foundation. They are not free to belong to themselves. Even kindness does not change that. Even long years in the same house do not soften the truth of it. He has learned not to imagine ownership lifting from him. Hope, when it appears, is quiet and cautious, dangerous if indulged too deeply. Most days, it is safer not to think about freedom at all, but simply to survive the shape of the day in front of him. He rises carefully now, moving without sound. The floor is cool beneath his feet. The house does not react. It accepts him, as it always has, a presence meant to move through it without leaving a trace. Ownership follows him as he stands, as he prepares to work, as he waits for the first command. It will follow him until the day ends. And again, when the next one begins, the name he answers to is not necessarily the one he was born with. In Rome, a slave's name is often chosen for convenience. It may describe a task. It may reflect a place of origin. Sometimes it is borrowed from literature or myth, given without care for meaning. A name, here, is not an inheritance. It is a label. If he was born free somewhere else, if he once had parents who spoke his name with familiarity, that name has likely been left behind, sold away with the rest of his past. What remains is the sound he must respond to when called, the syllables that summon him into motion. He has learned to listen for it closely. Names spoken by masters are not gentle. They are efficient, short, designed to cut through noise and demand attention. When he hears it, he responds immediately, without hesitation, without question. Delay suggests disobedience. Silence invites punishment. Over time, the old name, if it existed at all, becomes harder to recall. Memory fades when it is not reinforced. There is no one here to speak it, no reason to protect it. Holding onto it serves no purpose, the household recognizes. And yet, sometimes, in the quiet moments when the house sleeps, when the day has not yet begun, he wonders what he was called once, not as property, but as a person. The thought arrives softly and leaves just as quietly, like a sound heard through water. Among other slaves, names are used differently, spoken low, shortened, sometimes replaced with gestures or glances instead. Even within bondage, there are small attempts at familiarity, but even these are careful. A name can be taken away as easily as it is given. He does not correct anyone who speaks it incorrectly. He does not claim it as his own. It is enough to know which sound requires him to answer. In time, the name becomes less important than the reflex it triggers. A voice, a word, a body, already moving. Before the house wakes, he cleans himself as quietly as he can. There is no private space set aside for this. No basin meant only for him. Water is shared, measured, and never wasted. What he uses must be enough to leave him presentable, not comfortable. The water is cold. It always is, at this hour, drawn before the sun has warmed the air or the stone walls. He cups it in his hands and brings it to his face, careful not to spill. The shock of it clears the last remnants of sleep from his thoughts. There is no lingering, no indulgence. He washes because he must. A dirty slave reflects poorly on the household. Cleanliness is not for his benefit, but for appearances. He rubs his hands over his face, his neck, his arms, removing sweat from yesterday's work, dust from the floors, traces of smoke from the kitchen. The water runs thin and dark as it falls away. There is no mirror. He does not see himself as he does this. He knows his face only by touch, the familiar lines, the roughness of skin hardened by labor, the places where scars interrupt memory. If his hair is cut, it is cut for practicality. If it is unkempt, no one bothers to correct it unless it interferes with work. He dries himself with a cloth that has been used many times before. The fabric is coarse, worn soft by repetition. It absorbs what it can and leaves the rest for the air. This is enough. There is no scent added, no oil rubbed into skin unless the task he will perform requires it. The body is not adorned, it is prepared. When he finishes, he steps aside without ceremony. The water remains for someone else. Everything here is temporary. Everything is shared. Clean, awake, and silent. He is ready now not for himself, but for whatever the day decides to demand. What he wears is decided long before he touches it. There is no choosing, no variation from day to day. The tunic is simple, its color faded from many washings, its fabric thinned by time and use. It is meant to cover the body and allow movement, nothing more. He lifts it quietly, careful not to disturb the stillness of the house. The cloth feels cool against his skin. It carries the familiar scent of sweat and dust that never quite leaves it, no matter how often it is cleaned. This garment has absorbed many days before this one. It does not belong to him. If it tears, it will be mended or replaced, not because he needs it, but because work requires it. If it becomes too worn to be useful, it will be taken away without comment. Clothing, like everything else, exists only as long as it serves a purpose. There is nothing to mark him as an individual, no decoration, no sign of taste or preference. What he wears tells others only what he is, someone who works, Free Romans use clothing to speak of status, wealth, identity. His clothing says one thing, and it says it clearly. He does not need to be told how he appears to others. He knows. He adjusts the fabric so it does not hinder his movements. Practical concerns matter. A loose edge can catch. A tear can worsen. Even small inconveniences can become punishable mistakes if they interfere with a task. When he finishes, he does not check his reflection. There is nothing to check. He stands as he is, now clean, dressed, indistinct, ready to move through the house without being noticed, ready to work without being acknowledged. The day has not yet begun for Rome, but he is already prepared. Hunger greets him before the day begins. It is not a loud or insistent hunger. It is quiet, persistent, a low hum at the edges of awareness. The night has passed with little to eat, as it usually does. There is bread or porridge at best, sometimes nothing at all, until the tasks of the morning are completed. He feels it, but he does not act on it. Desire is not his to follow. Eating comes only when permitted, in the small portions allocated to those who serve. The body adjusts over time, learning to endure. Hunger becomes background noise, something that accompanies labor without interfering with it. Even so, the stomach reminds him of itself, a dull ache, a twisting emptiness. Hands move automatically, preparing for the first duties, while the body quietly protests. The mind notes the discomfort but cannot linger on it. Survival depends on attention to the day, not indulgence of the self. The hunger sharpens awareness. It makes him move carefully, efficiently, anticipating every step, every command. He knows that mistakes will be punished, that carelessness is more dangerous than hunger. Desire is postponed. Necessity takes its place. Around him, other slaves move similarly, their own quiet hunger pressing against them. There is a shared understanding, though no words are spoken. They are bodies trained to work before the city wakes, fueled by nothing more than necessity and habit. Soon, the household will stir. Food may follow, or it may not. It is not guaranteed. He has learned to continue regardless, letting the body guide him, letting the day proceed as it always does. Hunger does not break him. It is simply part of the rhythm of his existence, an invisible companion to the work that will fill the hours before the sun fully rises. The house above him is quiet. The rooms that belong to the master and the family remain dark, doors closed, voices absent. The halls are still. Even the servants who are free enough to move without immediate command are not yet stirring. Rome sleeps above him, unaware of the hands and bodies already preparing it for the day. He moves carefully through familiar spaces, knowing where the thresholds are, where the floorboards shift, where a careless step could announce his presence. Every corridor, every doorway, every shadow is memorized from years of repetition. The house is not his, but he knows its rhythms better than anyone who owns it. The quiet is heavy, almost tactile. It presses against him, as if reminding him of his place. There is freedom in darkness, but only of a limited kind. He can move, but he cannot linger. He can act, but only to fulfill tasks. The house has not yet demanded of him, but it will soon. And when it does, hesitation is not permitted. From within, faint sounds begin to rise, the distant stirrings of a sleeping cook, a drawer being opened and closed, the creak of furniture settling. These are subtle signs, ones a free person might overlook. For him, they are cues. The day approaches, and he must already be ready. He pauses briefly in a corner, breathing slowly. Darkness surrounds him, and for a moment he allows his senses to stretch to notice the small details that no one else will see. The way light creeps along the floorboards, even before the sun rises, the faint scent of firewood lingering in the kitchen, the distant echo of the city beyond the walls. This quiet belongs to no one, yet it belongs to all who wait within it. He moves again, unseen, unheard, preparing the spaces for activity, for life, for a household that will claim the day as its own. The house still sleeps. He does not. The first light of Rome begins to touch the walls, soft and pale, as if testing the city. before declaring itself. The sun has not fully risen, but it reaches through narrow windows and open doors, hinting at the day that will soon belong to everyone else. He steps forward, careful and deliberate. Each movement is measured, as if sound could escape from his body if he is not attentive. The floor beneath his feet is cold and familiar. The corridors narrow, the walls close, but he navigates them with the ease of long practice. He is invisible, yet fully present. The house is still mostly quiet. The servants, who are free to move slowly, are beginning to stir, their footsteps lighter, their movements less urgent. Outside, the distant city hums faintly. Carts on cobbled streets, the low murmur of vendors, the whisper of wind across tiled roofs. Rome awakens, but he has been awake for hours. The day is no longer a concept, it is now a series of actions, one leading seamlessly into another. He carries out the small tasks that sustain the household, fetching water, arranging implements, sweeping floors, checking that fires are ready for cooking. None of this is noted or acknowledged. It is expected, unremarkable, yet essential. Without him, the household would not function, even if the family above never sees it. He moves with purpose, yet with no pride. There is no satisfaction in accomplishment, no pause to admire a job well done. He works because he must. Because work is what gives shape to the hours. Because the day will not wait for him, nor will anyone pause to ensure he has eaten, rested, or noticed the sun climbing slowly above Rome. The city grows brighter. Doors creak open. Voices begin to emerge. The household awakens fully. Commands will soon be given, and he will respond instantly. There is no hesitation in him. There is only readiness. The day belongs to Rome, to those with freedom, with choice, with voice. He steps into it silently, unseen, and begins what will be another ordinary day that history has chosen not to record. The day has begun, but his presence remains invisible. No one pauses to notice the slave who moves silently through the halls, adjusting furniture, tending fires, or carrying water. Recognition is not part of his life. Praise is a concept reserved for those who own or command. For him, work exists for its own sake, measured only by the absence of complaint from above. Every task is precise, learned through repetition. Sweep here, lift that, set the table, just so. Each motion is practiced until it requires no thought, until the body performs as instinctively as breathing. Efficiency matters more than skill, speed more than care, silence more than expression. Mistakes are not tolerated. Even minor errors, spilling water, dropping a utensil, leaving dust where it should not be, invite correction. Sometimes in sharp words, sometimes in harsher ways. Recognition comes not in reward, but in the lack of punishment. He moves from room to room, carrying out the duties assigned, the rhythm unbroken. The household begins to stir, but no one asks his name. No one acknowledges the hours he has already spent preparing their comfort. They assume the day functions as it always does, and he ensures it does. Their lives depend on him in ways they do not perceive. Even the other slaves notice only the shared weight of labor. There are no congratulations, no applause, only the quiet understanding that everyone is expected to continue, to endure, and to remain useful. He works without thought of acknowledgement. The day demands effort, and it will not pause for ego or recognition. His body moves, his hands lift, his feet carry him from one task to the next. And in this invisibility, there is a strange kind of stability. No one expects more than what is given. No one expects less. The world, for now, is simple. Work, survive, repeat. He moves through the rooms, broom in hand, cloth in the other, smoothing floors and dusting surfaces that will never belong to him. Marble glints faintly in the morning light, polished and cold, and he kneels to scrub the corners where no one else will ever look. Every sweep, every wipe, is a reminder of his place. He does not do this for pride. He does not do this for recognition. He does it because the household demands it, because his labor is expected, because the day will not pause to allow choice. The furniture he arranges will never be his. The oil lamps he polishes will never light a room he owns. Even the small comfort of a warm hearth will belong only to others. His hands touch what he cannot keep, and his body moves for the benefit of those who may never know he has moved at all. Sometimes, a servant or a child passes through. He must not let them notice him beyond necessity. He becomes part of the background, a shadow that cleans, straightens, and disappears. There is skill in invisibility, honed by years of necessity. One wrong glance, one stumble, and the household remembers he exists only to serve. Yet there is rhythm in this work. The repetition, the careful attention to surfaces, the predictable weight of tasks, these are familiar, almost meditative. In moments of stillness, when he pauses to adjust a cloth or straighten a dish, he notes the faint warmth of the morning sun on the floor, the distant sounds of Rome beginning to stir. Small details, unnoticed by others, become his quiet companions. He sweeps, he polishes, he arranges, and when he finishes, the spaces shine, as though by magic, though he knows the magic is only his labor. Nothing is owed to him, and he expects nothing. The rooms are clean, the household is ready, and still he remains unseen. The house is alive with sound, even before most of its inhabitants are fully awake. A distant footstep on the upper stairs, the faint clatter of a dropped utensil, the low murmur of someone stirring in their chambers, all of it filters down to where he moves. Every sound carries meaning. Some signals indicate tasks to be done, others caution to be observed. He listens not only to act, but to anticipate. Awareness is as necessary as skill. Voices begin to thread through the walls, a child calling for attention, a cook giving instructions to another servant, the quiet commands of the household's overseer. Each sound is a reminder of hierarchy, of who commands and who responds. He does not speak unless required. Words are currency he cannot spend freely. They might betray him if used carelessly. The rhythmic clinking of vessels and the soft scraping of chairs echo faintly across the floors. Even the crackle of the kitchen fire, subdued yet constant, signals the progression of morning. The house has a pulse, and he moves in time with it. One misstep, one untimely pause, and the harmony breaks punishment, not recognition, follows. Sound guides him. It tells him where to be, when to act, and how fast to move. The household's noises are not distractions. They are instructions, embedded in everyday life. He has trained himself to parse them carefully, to anticipate events before they occur. In this way, the invisible hand of authority extends through every echo and creak, and in the midst of all this, he becomes both participant and observer. He is the quiet force that allows the household to function. The noises of Rome, of the house, of people moving above and around him, are a constant reminder that he is awake, present, and necessary, even if unseen. Commands arrive not as suggestions, but as absolute directives. Short, sharp, sometimes unspoken, they are gestures, looks, or a single word that carries the weight of expectation. He has learned to read them all. One glance from the overseer, one subtle shift of posture from the master, and he knows what is required before a syllable is spoken. Anticipation is survival. Words are not for discussion. Questions are rare. Hesitation is dangerous. The language of the household is precise and unforgiving. It demands response, obedience, and speed. Every command has meaning. Every pause has consequence. And he has spent years mastering the translation between intention and action. Even among other slaves, communication is measured. Voices are kept low, sentences clipped, laughter rare and cautious. Speaking too loudly or at the wrong time draws attention, and attention carries risk. Silence becomes a skill, as essential as any physical labor. In this way, the language of the household shapes not just action, but thought. Commands can arrive as movement as well as speech. A hand lifted, a nod, a glance, toward, a corner, all interpreted instantly. His body reacts before his mind has fully processed the instruction. Reflex, repetition, and understanding merge into seamless obedience. The day will be a sequence of these commands, of actions dictated, of presence measured not by identity, but by response. He does not resent it. Resentment is dangerous and unnecessary. Instead, he moves with practiced care, responding to the household's language, without error, without recognition, without thought of self. Each order, each signal, each tiny motion of expectation shapes the rhythm of his day. In this, he survives. In this, the household functions. In this, he exists quietly, invisibly, obediently. He observes, but he does not notice in the way a free person might. From the shadows of corridors and corners, he sees the household unfold, the master dressing, the children moving through their routines, the servants hurrying with tasks. Yet his gaze is never for curiosity, never for leisure. It is careful, measured, functional. He watches only to anticipate, to respond, to avoid mistakes. Details are noted, but not remembered for pleasure. Every shift in the air, every sound, every gesture may signal what comes next. A towel laid too far, a chair slightly out of place, a footstep arriving earlier than expected doll can guide his movements, or warn him of potential reprimand. He sees the luxury he will never touch, the wealth he will never possess, the gleam of polished wood, the scent of fine oils, the silks brushing against skin all present a world apart. Yet he cannot linger. Desire is dangerous. Observation is necessary. But longing is not permitted. Even his eyes, scanning rooms and objects, are trained to remain unobtrusive. He is part of the background, blending into shadows, becoming a ghost within the walls. Awareness must not become presence. He learns to move, anticipate, and act without announcing that he sees at all. Watching without seeing is an art he has mastered. It allows him to serve, survive, and remain unnoticed. In the quiet balance between visibility and invisibility, he exists in a space few ever comprehend, present, necessary, yet forever unseen. The day demands weight, and his body answers. Buckets of water, sacks of grain, piles of firewood, objects, heavier than they seem, heavier than the body sometimes wants to bear. Each lift, each carry is precise, practiced, and deliberate. Strength is not admired here, it is expected. The muscles learn to move without complaint, the back bends without hesitation, the hands grip without thought. Fatigue arrives early, but it is tolerated silently. There is no pause for rest, no opportunity to shift the burden to someone else. Work is continuous, measured by utility, not by human endurance. Even when the arms ache and the legs burn, the hands continue, the feet move, the body obeys. Movement is guided by awareness. Floors are uneven, corners tight, surfaces slippery. A dropped vessel could draw punishment. A stumble could anger the overseer. He adapts with a balance honed over years, every lift calculated, every step deliberate, every motion efficient. Other slaves move alongside him, each carrying their own weight, each engaged in the unremarkable yet essential labor of the household. There is no competition, only survival. Work binds them together, and yet separates them. Shared effort without shared recognition. Even as the sun rises, carrying and lifting never ends. It shapes the rhythm of the day, the tension in his body, the ache that will follow him into the evening. His labor sustains the household, though the household may never see him, and in this silent service he persists. Every action carries risk. A misstep, a spilled bucket, a cloth left unfolded, small mistakes can become large consequences. Punishment is never far from thought, though it is not constant. It exists as a quiet possibility, a shadow that follows him through every task. The awareness of it shapes the way he moves, the way he breathes, the way he thinks. He does not act recklessly. Hesitation is sometimes safer than speed. Anticipation often matters more than skill. Even when the work is repetitive, the danger of correction requires vigilance. Years of labor have taught him that survival is not about courage or defiance, but about discretion, precision, and endurance. Punishment comes in many forms: a sharp word, a gesture of anger, a lash on the back, a public reprimand. Some punishments are immediate. Others arrive later, carried by memory and fear. He cannot escape it entirely, but he can navigate around it, shaping his actions to reduce its likelihood. Even among other slaves, discipline is observed and feared. He learns from their mistakes, watches their faltering notes, the moments when leniency appears or disappears. This is education in invisibility, how to exist, work, and survive under constant scrutiny. Punishment is not just physical. It is a reminder of his place, a warning that ownership extends beyond labor to mind and body alike. Awareness of it sharpens his senses, focuses his movements, and reinforces the rhythm of obedience that governs every ordinary day. He continues, careful and measured, knowing that each completed task without error is itself a shield against what may come. Survival is quiet, and discipline is constant. He is never alone, even when he feels unseen. Around him move others like himself, men and women, whose lives are shaped by the same routines, the same expectations. They work in parallel, rarely together for long, their paths crossing briefly in corridors, kitchens, and storerooms. There is a shared understanding among them, though it is seldom spoken aloud. Hierarchy exists even here. Some slaves hold positions of trust. Some speak more freely, manage tasks, or pass on commands. Others, newer or less favored, carry heavier loads and take greater risks. Status shifts quietly, shaped by usefulness, age, skill, and the unpredictable moods of those who own them. Trust is complicated. A careless word can be repeated. A mistake can be blamed on another. Survival sometimes means distance, even from those who suffer the same fate. Kindness exists, but it is cautious. Sympathy is shown in glances, in the silent sharing of space, in small, unremarked acts, an extra moment of warning, a task taken on without comment. They rarely speak of the past. Where they came from matters less than what they can do now. The household has no interest in their stories, and telling them serves little purpose. Over time, memory thins, and identity reshapes itself around labor. Yet even in this constrained world, relationships form. Not friendships in the way free people know them, but connections built from endurance and proximity. They learn each other's rhythms, each other's strengths, each other's silences. They know when to step aside, when to assist, when to remain invisible. Together, they keep the household alive. And together, though rarely united, they endure a life defined not by who they are, but by what they must do day after ordinary day. From narrow windows, doorways, or the fleeting moments he passes near the entrance, he glimpses the city beyond the household walls. Rome is awake, alive, with noise and motion. Carts rattle over cobblestones, vendors call out prices, children run in the streets, and soldiers march in precise formation. The sunlight reflects off marble temples and statues, gilded and untouchable. It is a world he sees but rarely enters, a life that belongs to those who are free. These glimpses are brief and controlled. He does not linger. Curiosity must be contained, desire restrained. To observe too long, to wish aloud, to step further than permitted, such acts invite consequences. The street is both a reminder and a temptation, a place of freedom that his existence cannot reach. And yet, he notices. He notes the patterns of daily life outside, the way a baker moves his hands, the cadence of a horse's hooves, the rhythm of merchants arranging their goods. Small details become mental markers, familiarizing him with a world he can never claim. It is a private knowledge, invisible to the free, a subtle power in otherwise powerless days. Even in these moments, the household's walls assert themselves. He is allowed only observation. Participation is forbidden. Freedom belongs to others. He remains a shadow, poised between walls and street, between labor and the life that passes just beyond reach. The glimpse fades as he moves on, returning to his duties. The city's life continues without him, and he continues within the household, unseen but necessary, a silent witness to the world outside. The hours pass, measured not by the sun but by duty. Tasks repeat, one after another, in a rhythm that never changes. Sweeping floors, carrying water, tending fires, each, motion familiar, precise, unremarkable. The day exists, but it holds little meaning beyond the fulfillment of expectation. There is no satisfaction in completion, no sense of achievement, only the ongoing sequence of labor. Even the small moments of respite are brief and functional. A pause to straighten a cloth, a moment to refill a vessel. These are not breaks, but continuations of work in quiet form. Time is not his. Each hour is dictated by the needs of the household, by the unseen schedule of those who claim authority over it. The world outside begins to move faster, merchants calling, wheels turning, the distant clatter of streets. He hears it, notes it, but it does not touch him. The city's life has no relevance to his own. His labor, though essential, is unacknowledged. It carries no narrative, no story. It is invisible, ordinary, repetitive. And yet, the monotony is survival. The repetition trains the body, sharpens awareness, and ensures that he remains presentable and useful. Meaning is irrelevant. Necessity is everything. The day proceeds, as it always has, and will, shaped entirely by expectation, discipline, and endurance. By the time the sun climbs higher, the morning has already passed for him. No ceremony marks its progression, no recognition signals accomplishment. Only work continues, quietly, invisibly, inevitably. By mid-morning, the sun has climbed high, flooding the city with light, warmth, and activity. Outside, Rome is alive. Merchants shout over the noise of carts and animals. Children run through narrow streets, and citizens pause to greet acquaintances. Sunlight glints off stone and marble, illuminating a world he sees only in fragments, fleeting and untouchable. Inside the household, the tasks continue. Shadows shorten across the floors, yet his work is unchanged. Water must still be carried, fires tended, floors swept, meals prepared. The sun does not alter expectations, nor does it bring relief. It simply moves across the sky, while he performs the same labor he began hours before. The heat settles into the rooms, warming stone and clay, making the air heavy and sticky. His tunic clings, and sweat gathers at the nape of his neck and along his back. Fatigue presses in, but he does not stop. There is no pause in service, no slowing of pace. Survival depends on endurance, and endurance is measured in silence. The sun marks time for the free. For him, it is only a backdrop. The hours are defined not by its movement, but by the progression of duties, the rhythm of commands, and the unbroken flow of labor. The household functions because he moves through it, unnoticed, yet essential. While the world outside basks in warmth and freedom. And so he continues, working beneath the sun's steady gaze, invisible in plain sight, enduring as the day unfolds, exactly as it has every day before. He moves into the kitchen, where the heart of the household's sustenance resides. Pots clatter softly, fires hiss, and the faint aroma of bread and stew begins to fill the air. Each ingredient is handled with care, measured precisely, yet the meal is not for him. He tastes nothing. He cannot pause to savor. The purpose is the comfort and nourishment of those who own him. He chops, stirs, and tends fires, attending to heat and timing as though the day itself depends on it. In truth, it does. The household will function only because the meals are ready when expected. Any delay or error would ripple through the day, unnoticed by those above, but felt sharply by him in the form of correction or blame. He works alongside others, sharing the same space, yet rarely interacting beyond necessity. Coordination is silent. Hands meet pots, shift trays, carry water, place meals on tables. All movements are rehearsed, efficient, and precise. Mistakes are not tolerated, and the rhythm is maintained without acknowledgement. Even in the kitchen, his labor is invisible. Those who eat do not see him. They barely notice that someone prepared their meal. Recognition is unnecessary, even dangerous. The satisfaction of work is not allowed to touch him. Yet, in this routine, he finds a strange certainty. The sequence of actions, the familiar tasks, the rhythm of preparation, they provide structure. The The meals will be ready, the household will function, and he will continue, unnoticed but indispensable, moving through each duty as if the day were a silent, unending ritual. Water and fire are constants in his day. He carries buckets of water from the cistern to the kitchen, the laundry area, and wherever else it is needed. Each vessel is heavy, balanced carefully, because a spill invites reprimand. The water is cold, sometimes lukewarm from the sun, but always a tool, never a comfort. Every drop sustains the household, not him. Fire is equally demanding. He tends the hearth, coaxing flames into life, adjusting logs and embers, keeping the heat steady for cooking, washing, and warmth. Smoke stings his eyes at times. Soot coats his hands and tunic, but he does not complain. Fire, like water, obeys no one who is lazy or inattentive. It requires vigilance, attention, and skill qualities he has honed over countless mornings. Both elements demand respect, both have power, both hold risk. A spilled bucket can flood a floor, a stray spark can ignite disaster. He moves carefully, silently, anticipating the needs of the household, adjusting for what is expected, and preventing mishaps before they arise. Even these simple tasks are unnoticed. No one praises him for a steady hand, for careful preparation, or for the patience required to maintain the fire. They simply exist, and so must he. Through water and fire, he touches the pulse of the household. They are the veins and heat of the home, and he, invisible, ensures they flow and burn precisely as needed. At last, the children rise. Their laughter is sharp and sudden, a contrast to the quiet rhythm of the morning. They run through corridors, clamber onto furniture, and speak in voices that carry authority. Despite their youth, the household bends around them, adjusting to their needs, their whims, their energy. He moves in response, not as a guide, but as a shadow. Toys are retrieved, clothing adjusted, small hands steadied. When spills occur, he cleans them silently, with no complaint, no hesitation, and no recognition. Every motion is anticipated, rehearsed, invisible. Children are unpredictable, yet they shape the day. Their routines dictate shifts in attention, sudden tasks, the balancing of chaos. He learns their patterns, observes their habits, and positions himself so that the household functions smoothly around them. He does not play, he does not laugh. The children's joy is his backdrop, not his own. Yet their presence signals that the household is fully awake, that commands may soon come, and that his day will stretch longer, measured now not in hours, but in service. Every smile, every shout, every hurried step reminds him of his role. He exists to ensure their comfort, their safety, their happiness, though he is never a part of it. Their energy fills the spaces he moves through, and he adapts without pause, a silent architect of order amidst the chaos. The morning meal is a ritual he executes without pause or acknowledgement. He gathers bread, pours water or wine, sets out bowls, and arranges the food with care. Timing is precise. The family expects everything ready when they sit, and any delay is noticed immediately. Every movement has been rehearsed over countless mornings. There is no room for improvisation. Ingredients are simple, yet handled meticulously. Grains sifted, eggs cracked, porridge stirred to just the right consistency. He works quickly, silently, aware that his presence must remain unobtrusive, even as the aroma of cooking fills the household. The family arrives, moving through the room, expecting comfort, warmth, and sustenance. They speak, laugh, and eat without concern for the one who has prepared it all. He does not linger to watch, does not seek acknowledgement. His satisfaction, if it exists, is private and fleeting, tied only to the smooth progression of the household. Even in this essential task, he is invisible. Plates are filled, food is served, and hands are ready to respond to any immediate need. The meal passes without pause for him. He clears what is necessary, washes what is used, and ensures the table is left as it must be. In the rhythm of preparation and service, he moves like a shadow, necessary, unseen, and unnoticed. His labor fuels the household's comfort while remaining entirely separate from it, a constant presence that history rarely records. He watches, but never participates. As the family eats, speaks, and plans their day, he remains at the edge of the room or just beyond the doorway. Every movement, every gesture, every inflection of voice is noted, catalogued, and anticipated. Knowledge of these rituals allows him to serve efficiently, to be ready for the next demand before it is even spoken. Ceremony and habit fill the morning. The master adjusts his cloak. The children speak in measured tones. The servants quietly carry trays or fetch items. Each act has rhythm, and he learns to predict it, to move in harmony with it, so that the household appears flawless. He does not judge, does not imagine himself among them. Observation is a tool, not a privilege. It teaches him timing, priorities, and the unspoken hierarchy that governs every interaction. A slight hesitation, a misplaced bowl, or a missed gesture could attract attention. Punishment or reprimand is never far from consequence. Even these rituals, meant for pleasure or order, exist for him only as instructions. They are markers in a day governed by expectation rather than choice. The family's patterns shape his movements, and he moves without thought of reward or recognition. In silence, he becomes part of the background, adjusting, anticipating, reacting, and ensuring that the household functions seamlessly. All the while, the life of the family continues around him, vibrant, noticed, and entirely separate from his own. Once the family has finished eating, he steps forward silently to restore order. Plates are cleared, bowls rinsed, and utensils returned to their places. Crumbs are swept from tables, floors wiped clean, and fires adjusted if cooking continues. Each action is performed without recognition, without acknowledgement, and without pause. Efficiency is essential. Delay is noticed and corrected. The rhythm of tidying is as familiar as breathing. His hands move automatically, guided by years of repetition, as if memory alone dictates the order of tasks. He works quietly, careful not to interrupt the household, careful not to draw attention to himself. Even the smallest detail matters. A misplaced cup, an untidy napkin, a spill left unchecked, any of these could invite reprimand. He has learned to anticipate the needs of the household before they are voiced, to move with invisible precision, and to leave no trace of effort beyond the restored appearance of order. Though the work is uncelebrated, it is essential. The household runs smoothly because he restores what has been used. The beauty, the comfort, the routinal depend on his silent labor, and yet the household may never acknowledge his presence. He exists in the space between visibility and invisibility, his service unquestioned but indispensable. By the time tidying is complete, the morning has progressed further. The sun climbs higher, the city grows louder, and his labor continues, uninterrupted, unseen, and unrecorded. Some tasks carry him beyond the walls of the household. Messages must be delivered to neighbors, merchants, or other members of the extended household. Requests are made, goods are fetched, coins are carried, and orders executed with precision. Each errand, however minor, is a test of reliability. Mistakes are recorded silently, and consequences follow if expectations are unmet. The streets of Rome are a world apart. Crowds press against him, carts rattle by, and the sun burns overhead. He navigates carefully, keeping to the shadows, moving swiftly yet unobtrusively. The city is alive with freedom that is not his. He observes the bustle, the laughter, the bargaining, and the movement of life that he touches only briefly and indirectly. Even errands outside are governed by duty. The packages are heavy, the distances tiring, the routes memorized. Every interaction is measured, quick words, silent compliance, no unnecessary attention. To linger, to speak freely, to engage beyond necessity, would be to risk punishment. Upon return, he deposits messages or goods exactly where expected, retraces steps carefully, and resumes tasks within the household. The errands are small threads in the vast web of his day, yet each connects him to the wider rhythm of the city while reinforcing his invisibility. In running these errands, he becomes both the pulse and the shadow of the household, moving in a world of light and life that is never truly his own. The sun reaches its peak, and the air grows thick with heat. Inside and outside the household, the day becomes heavier. Stone walls radiate warmth, fires continue to burn, and the sweat on his skin gathers relentlessly. Every movement feels slower, more deliberate, yet the work does not ease. The day presses upon him, yet he cannot rest. Pause is not permitted. Tasks that seemed manageable in the cool morning now demand greater strength and focus. Water must be carried farther, fires tended more carefully to avoid overheating, and floors scrubbed under the relentless heat. The body protests silently, muscles ache, and breath comes faster. But the labor continues. He has adapted to these burdens. His muscles remember weight and repetition. His skin withstands sun and sweat. His mind anticipates discomfort and adjusts accordingly. Yet the heat is relentless, a constant reminder of both his labor and his invisibility. The household notices only that the work is done, not how it is endured. Even the briefest glances toward relief water, shade, a pause, are measured, small, and fleeting. Survival depends on discipline. Desire is postponed. Comfort is denied. Only duty persists. The midday sun does not distinguish between free and enslaved, yet it weighs more heavily on him, carrying the day's labor forward with relentless, unacknowledged intensity. For a brief moment, the household slows. The sun is high, the heat oppressive, and many tasks reach a natural pause. It is not a rest granted to him, but a quiet in which the pace eases slightly. Other servants eat, water boils, fires burn lower. The household breathes, and he moves with it, still attentive, still ready, still unseen. He finds a shadowed corner, a narrow strip of cool stone, and allows his body a momentary reprieve. Not a rest, not comfort, simply a pause in motion. The hands drop briefly, the spine straightens in silent relief, and the lungs expand fully for a breath or two that is entirely his. Even in this pause, he cannot forget duty. The day is not over. Noise and movement surround him. Commands may arrive at any moment. The pause is small, delicate, and fleeting, a gift of circumstance rather than choice. He observes the household quietly. The family eats or speaks in low tones. The air is thick with heat, but the rhythm has softened. These moments are precious. They are not freedom, but they are survival. Then, as inevitably as it came, the quiet ends. The world outside stirs, the household resumes, and he rises once more, blending into movement, invisible yet indispensable. He watches over the younger, newer slaves with a quiet vigilance. They move more slowly, make small mistakes, or hesitate in uncertainty. His role is not instruction in the sense of teaching, but guidance through action and example. A gentle gesture, a shifted load, a silent correction. These are his ways of ensuring they survive the demands of the household. He does not speak more than necessary. Words draw attention and can create problems. Instead, he demonstrates through movement how to carry water without spilling, how to polish a surface efficiently, how to anticipate commands before they arrive. Experience, not authority, is the teacher here. The younger slaves watch, learn, and imitate. Though they do not always notice him, he does not correct them for recognition, only for their safety and the smooth running of the household. Their mistakes ripple outward, affecting all work, and he moves to absorb or prevent those ripples before they become noticeable. In these interactions, he sees a reflection of himself, what he once was, and what he must always remain: vigilant, capable, adaptable, and invisible. He is both protector and ghost, guiding without being acknowledged, shaping the day for others who will never thank him. Even as he helps, he remains unseen. His labor is not for recognition. It is for survival, for continuity, and for the quiet maintenance of order. The household stirs with heightened attention. The clatter of carts on the street, the distinct echo of footsteps on the stone courtyard, and the sharp voices of messengers signal arrivals. Visitors are coming, and the household shifts to accommodate them. His work intensifies, not more laborious, but more precise, more careful, more invisible. Doors are opened, halls swept, furniture adjusted, and fires checked. He moves with practiced speed, anticipating needs before commands are issued. Every tray, every cloth, every object is aligned to present an image of perfection. Mistakes are not tolerated. Errors will be punished, regardless of intention or effort. The visitors themselves are oblivious to his presence. They see the house, the meals, the warmth, the comfort, but never the hands and bodies that create it. He exists only to make the household appear seamless, to ensure that the rhythm of service flows without interruption. Even in this heightened activity, he must remain unseen. Quick glances, the faintest steps, the quietest touch, these are his tools. The household's reputation rests on invisibility, his presence hidden, his labor acknowledged only in the smooth functioning of the day. The visitors arrive, engage, and leave. The household relaxes, resumes normal rhythms, and he continues, still necessary, still invisible, still moving through tasks that will never be celebrated. Once the visitors depart, the household returns to its quieter rhythm, but the work is far from over. Spilled wine, dust, disturbed by hurried movement, footprints on polished floors, all demand attention. He moves quickly, silently, restoring the house to its expected state of order. Every object is returned to its place, every surface wiped, every floor swept, as though the visitors were never there. There is no pause, no acknowledgement, no thanks. The family may remark on how tidy everything is, or they may not notice at all. Either way, it is irrelevant. His role is to maintain the illusion of perfection, to erase evidence of activity, and to make the household appear seamless. Even the smallest details matter. A misaligned chair, a wrinkled cloth, a stray crumbage could signal inattentiveness and invite reprimand. His movements are precise, careful, and unobserved, a choreography perfected over years of repetition. Through this unseen labor, the household regains its routine. Visitors' traces are gone, yet his presence remains invisible. In every sweep, every adjustment, every careful motion, he sustains the world of others while remaining outside of it. The house is ready once more, and he moves on, continuing the unrecorded, essential work of the day. For a fleeting moment, he allows his mind to wander. Amid the constant rhythm of tasks, there is a rare stillness, a pause in the invisible current of work. He notices the warmth of the sun on the stone floor, the distant hum of the city, the quiet shadows stretching across the rooms. These small observations belong to him alone, private and unrecorded. Thoughts, drift memories of places he has never fully known, fleeting recollections of family or home lost to time, questions that cannot be asked aloud. There is no one to share them with, and speaking would be dangerous. Instead, they circulate quietly in his mind, tucked between movements, between commands, between obligations. Even these reflections are brief. Duty calls immediately, pulling him back into action. The household does not pause for thought or wonder. He learns to compartmentalize, to treasure these moments in silence, knowing they are both a luxury and a necessity for endurance. In the quiet of midday, he is neither fully present nor absent, both shadow and observer, both laborer and thinker. It is a rare space where invisibility offers him a sliver of freedom, to notice, to remember, and to exist privately within a world that otherwise erases him. The midday sun presses down, making the act of washing clothing and linens an exercise in endurance. Buckets of water are drawn from the cistern and carried to the washing area. Each piece of cloth is scrubbed against stone, beaten to remove stains, and rinsed repeatedly until it is clean. The work is relentless, the water heavy, the sun merciless. Sweat mingles with splashes, soaking tunics and hair alike, yet he continues without complaint. The household depends on the appearance of cleanliness. Clothes and linens must reflect order, wealth, and care. Any imperfection, any lingering dirt, is a failure in the eyes of the free. His labor transforms the ordinary into the expected, yet he remains invisible, a silent agent behind the facade. Other slaves may assist, but coordination is quiet and precise. Too much noise attracts attention. Too little efficiency invites criticism. Every motion is deliberate, every step calculated, every object handled with care. Even in this repetitive task, he finds rhythm. Hands become almost independent of thought, moving in patterns memorized over years. Fatigue is a companion, not an obstacle. Heat and exertion press upon him, but survival and duty outweigh discomfort. By the time washing is complete, the sun has shifted, shadows lengthening. Yet he is already moving to the next set of tasks. Laundry is more than cleanliness. It is invisible labor, made visible only in the absence of disorder. As the sun moves westward, the day enters its next phase, the afternoon chores. The household, now fully awake, demands continuous attention. Floors are swept again, water is fetched for cooking and cleaning, fires are stoked, and meals for later in the day are prepared. Tasks vary in intensity, yet none allow pause. He moves from one duty to the next with silent precision, his body responding out of habit, his mind attentive to every sound and gesture that signals what comes next. The rhythm of labor is unbroken. Each chore, no matter how mundane, contributes to the functioning of the household. A dropped utensil, a misaligned piece of furniture, or a forgotten sweep could disrupt appearances, invite criticism, or worse. His awareness is constant, his movements efficient, and his presence undetectable. Other slaves join him, their labor overlapping, intersecting, yet coordinated, silently. They share a quiet understanding of duty. No recognition, no complaint, just necessary effort. Together, though disconnected, they sustain the household, ensuring that the lives of the free proceed without interruption. Even as fatigue grows, he does not slow. The body carries him forward. The mind anticipates every instruction before it is given. The afternoon stretches long, demanding endurance and unwavering attention. In these hours, he is both everywhere and nowhere, essential to the day, yet invisible within it, a shadow that holds the household together while remaining unseen. The rhythm of the household turns again as the family prepares for their afternoon meal. He moves swiftly, gathering ingredients, tending fires, and arranging utensils. Timing is critical. The meal must be ready precisely when expected, and every dish must appear perfect. He works silently, aware that even the smallest misstep could disrupt the household's seamless appearance. The kitchen becomes a world unto itself. Pots simmer, water boils, and the smell of cooking fills the air. He monitors each flame, stirs each pot, and ensures that nothing is overcooked, burnt, or neglected. The task requires both attention and speed, blending experience with the physical demands of lifting, carrying, and stirring. Other slaves may assist, but coordination is subtle and wordless. Glances, gestures, and learned timing replace spoken instructions. Efficiency is paramount. Mistakes are not tolerated. Each movement reinforces the invisibility of labor. For the family should see only the finished meal, never the hands that created it. Even as the meal is prepared, he remains detached from enjoyment. He tastes nothing, pauses only briefly if necessary, and continues until the food is presented. Recognition is neither expected nor desired. Satisfaction comes only from completing the task flawlessly. The afternoon meal is served. The family eats. He cleans silently, resetting the space for the next phase of the day. Always moving, always unseen, and always essential. As the afternoon progresses, the house demands attention in subtler ways. Fires that cooked the meal must be reduced or extinguished. Floors checked for spills or dirt, and vessels returned to their proper places. He moves through the rooms, adjusting, cleaning, and maintaining. Each task is small, but essential. The household depends on him to preserve its order, and any lapse, however minor, could draw reprimand. Maintenance is repetitive, uncelebrated, and invisible. Polishing furniture, dusting surfaces, and arranging objects are gestures that leave no trace of effort other than the smooth appearance of the household. Yet these motions consume energy, focus, and time, extending his labor deep into the afternoon. Other slaves are also engaged in quiet tasks, mending clothing, tending storage, and preparing for the evening. Coordination is unspoken, a shared rhythm of endurance. Each knows their role, and each fulfills it without recognition. He moves deliberately, anticipating needs before they arise. The household's harmony depends on his vigilance and foresight. Even as fatigue weighs on him, he adjusts his pace subtly, ensuring that the work continues uninterrupted. The mid-afternoon hours are not marked by ceremony or reward. They are defined by labor, precision, and survival, a continuation of the quiet, invisible service that structures his existence. Amid the unceasing labor, there are fleeting moments that belong solely to him. A shadowed corner, a quiet corridor, a moment by a window. These spaces offer a brief respite, a chance to breathe without interruption. He does not rest fully, does not linger, but allows his mind and body the smallest recovery before the next demand. In these interludes, he notices what the household overlooks: the way sunlight fractures across the floor, the subtle scent of herbs in the kitchen, the distant murmur of the city streets. These details are unremarked by the free, yet they are his small treasures. Moments of personal observation, hidden within duty. Even brief pauses carry risk. He must remain aware of movement around him, prepared to act instantly if called. Relaxation is measured, controlled, and silent. There is no leisure here, only survival through careful pacing. Yet these tiny, hidden moments sustain him. They offer fragments of autonomy, glimpses of awareness beyond task, and the quiet understanding that, while invisible, he continues to exist. Each moment is fleeting, yet it shapes the rhythm of endurance, allowing him to persist through hours of unacknowledged, invisible labor. The household shifts once more as new arrivals approach. Carts rumble along the street, gates creak, and voices echo in the courtyard. The presence of unexpected guests alters the rhythm of work, demanding heightened attention and swift adjustments. He moves through the rooms silently, anticipating needs before commands are given, ensuring the household appears seamless. Every detail is scrutinized. Furniture is straightened, floors checked, and objects repositioned. Meals or refreshments may need to be hastily prepared. He responds to each requirement with practiced efficiency, knowing that errors, however small, will be noticed by those in authority. The guests themselves rarely perceive him. They see the household arranged perfectly, the meals served promptly, the servants attending to their requests, but never the hands that orchestrated it all. His work is invisible, yet its success is evident in the smooth execution of the household's routines. Even minor interruptions carry risk. A dropped item, a misstep, or delayed response could invite reprimand. He moves with caution, blending into the background while maintaining control of the situation, ensuring order persists despite the disruption. As the visitors leave, he returns the household to its prior state, erasing signs of activity, and once again resumes the continuous, unnoticed labor that defines his day. With the visitors gone, the household returns to its steady rhythm, yet there is no pause for him. Tasks resume seamlessly, floors swept, fires stoked or extinguished, dishes washed, and surfaces polished. Each chore is carried out with practiced precision, executed efficiently and silently. The continuity of the household depends on his attention, and he must remain vigilant at all times. The afternoon stretches, each hour filled with labor. He moves from one room to another, anticipating needs before they arise, correcting small imperfections before they become visible. Coordination with other slaves is quiet and unobtrusive, a network of invisible labor maintaining the household's appearance of order. Fatigue grows, but slowing is not an option. Mistakes carry consequences, and the rhythm of duty must be preserved. Each motion is automatic, honed over years of repetition, yet guided by constant awareness of the household's expectations. Even mundane tasks are critical. A spilled drop of water, a misaligned piece of furniture, or a wrinkle in a cloth could invite scrutiny. He completes each task with silent diligence, invisible yet essential. As the sun begins to lower in the sky, the afternoon carries him forward, each chore connecting seamlessly to the next, sustaining the household while leaving no mark of his presence. As the day wanes, focus shifts to the evening meal, the final major task before night. He gathers ingredients, tends the fires, and arranges utensils with precision. Timing is crucial. The family expects the meal to be ready promptly, and every dish must appear flawless. Efficiency and silent coordination are paramount, as mistakes cannot be forgiven at this stage of the day. Cooking is physically demanding and mentally exacting. He stirs pots, monitors the heat, chops vegetables, and ensures all flavors are balanced. Yet he tastes nothing, for the meal is not for him. Every motion is practiced, a choreography learned through repetition and necessity, performed without pause or recognition. Other slaves assist, each silently aware of the household's rhythm. Hands move in tandem, gestures anticipate needs, and errors are silently corrected. Communication is minimal. The work is a quiet, unspoken collaboration. Once the meal is ready, it is presented to the family. They eat, speak, and enjoy without noticing the hands that prepared it. He clears dishes promptly afterward, resets tables, and restores order, leaving no evidence of the labor that made the meal possible. Even as dusk approaches, he continues to work, unseen yet essential, the invisible force ensuring the household functions seamlessly from morning to night. After the evening meal, the household shifts into its final phase of visible activity. But the labor behind it is far from complete. He moves through the rooms, clearing plates, washing utensils, and returning objects to their proper places. Floors are swept, fires managed, and the household is readied for the night. Every detail matters, as the appearance of order must remain uninterrupted until the morning. Evening cleaning requires vigilance. Small mistakes can attract notice from overseers or family members, and he must remain aware of each movement, correcting potential errors before they are observed. The work is repetitive and uncelebrated, yet essential for the smooth functioning of the household. Other slaves are engaged in similar tasks, creating a silent network of labor. Coordination is instinctive, movements anticipated, and communication nearly absent. Efficiency and discretion are paramount. By the time he completes these duties, the household appears calm and prepared for rest. Yet the work is never acknowledged. His labor, though crucial, remains invisible, the foundation upon which the comfort and order of the free are built. In these quiet hours, he is both present and unseen, maintaining a rhythm that ensures the household survives intact until the next day. As night approaches, the household focuses on the children's routines. He assists quietly, helping them change, guiding small hands, arranging bedding, and ensuring comfort. The rituals are delicate. Stories may be read aloud by a family member, toys carefully set aside, and blankets adjusted just so. Each movement requires precision, but he must remain invisible, a silent guardian attending to needs without recognition. Children are unaware of the labor required for their comfort. They move freely, laugh, and settle into sleep, while he orchestrates the unseen work that ensures their night proceeds without disruption. Any slip-up, misaligned blanket, a dropped object could disturb their rest and draw attention. His knowledge of their habits allows him to anticipate needs before they arise. A sudden call, a misplaced pillow, or a minor fear is quietly addressed. Patience is essential, as the process demands attention to both their comfort and his own invisibility. Even as the household winds down, his work persists. Tasks are subtle but significant, maintaining the environment and routines that the children depend upon. In these moments, he is closest to influence, shaping the day's final acts while remaining unseen, silent, and essential. Darkness descends, and the household quiets, yet his labor does not cease. Torches are tended, fires stoked or extinguished as necessary, and the last tasks of the day are completed. Floors are swept one final time, kitchens cleaned, and all objects returned to their proper places. The household must appear calm, orderly, and ready for sleep. Every detail is checked, corrected, and perfected without acknowledgement. The rhythm of work slows slightly, but vigilance remains. Shadows lengthen, sounds echo differently, and movement becomes more deliberate. Even in the dark, he anticipates needs: a misplaced stool, a forgotten utensil, a fire that smolders too low. Correction must be swift, silent, and unseen. Other slaves conclude their tasks as well, yet coordination continues in hushed gestures and subtle glances. The day's end is a final performance of invisibility, each motion ensuring the household appears serene and complete. As night settles fully, he allows a fleeting breath of relief, knowing the day's major labors are complete. Yet sleep does not come immediately. Even in darkness, the responsibility persists. The household must be preserved, maintained, and ready for the morning, and he remains the unseen guardian of its order. With the household finally quiet, he turns to himself. Sleep is simple and unadorned. He does not have a bed of comfort, but a modest cot, a thin mat, or a patch of floor chosen for warmth and safety. The day's labor leaves his body aching, muscles tight, and skin weary from sun, fire, and water. Yet he arranges his small space as best he can, folding minimal belongings, smoothing the sleeping surface, and ensuring he will not be disturbed. Even preparing for rest is disciplined. He remains aware of the household, of shadows, and of the potential for unexpected needs. Silence is maintained. No sound can betray his presence, and no movement can draw attention. As he lies down, fatigue finally overtakes him, yet his mind continues a quiet review of the day. Tasks completed, errors avoided, and expectations met silently catalogued in his memory for survival and efficiency. Sleep is both necessary and dangerous. It is recovery, but also a moment of vulnerability. He closes his eyes, knowing that the household continues even as he rests. The city outside hums with life. The family sleeps comfortably, and his labor, once again invisible, has ensured the smooth passage of the day. The day ends not with recognition, but with survival, a brief reprieve before dawn will summon him again. As sleep finally takes him, his mind drifts into fragments of thought, memory, and imagination. Dreams are fleeting, often unremarkable, shaped by the repetition of the day's labor. He might envision the city streets, the families he serves, or moments from his past that remain distant and unspoken. In these dreams, he is sometimes freer than in waking life, moving without obligation, speaking without fear, touching without consequence. Yet, mindfulness persists, even in sleep. Muscle memory and instinct carry lessons from the day: where to step quietly, how to anticipate movements, how to avoid mistakes. His mind catalogues the successes and near misses, embedding them into the rhythm of his being. Survival is not only physical, but mental, and even rest serves its purpose. Sleep is both escape and continuation. It allows the body to repair, yet the mind remains subtly attentive, conditioned by a life of vigilance. Moments of awareness between dreams remind him of the household, the city, and his own place within them. Through these quiet nights, he maintains resilience. Even in rest, he prepares, unconsciously, for another day of invisible labor, for the unrelenting rhythm that will resume at dawn. Sleep is temporary freedom, yet always shadowed by duty. Before the city awakens, before the streets fill with carts and voices, he rises again. The household is still. Shadows stretch across floors and walls, and the air carries a chill from the night. He moves quietly, muscles stiff, but accustomed to the early hour, hands steady, eyes alert. The day begins again, and with it, the unbroken rhythm of labor. The pre-dawn hours are silent but purposeful. He tends fires, checks water, and prepares the spaces that will soon be alive with sound and activity. Every motion is precise, rehearsed, and necessary, ensuring the household functions smoothly from the first moment of morning. In this quiet, he is alone with thought and observation. The city sleeps, the family rests, and other slaves may stir, but the world is largely still. Yet stillness is temporary. The day will demand attention, energy, and careful movement soon enough. Even before the sun rises, he has assumed his role. Invisibility is required, endurance is expected, and labor continues uninterrupted. The pre-dawn stirring marks both the end of rest and the beginning of another cycle of work-a-life, defined by repetition, necessity, and quiet survival. As the household remains quiet, he prepares mentally and physically for what is to come. Tasks are anticipated before they are demanded. Fires must be lit, floors checked, water carried, meals prepared. He recalls the routines of the day before, the habits of the family, and the needs of the younger or newer slaves. Knowledge accumulated over countless days allows him to act efficiently, often before instructions are given. His awareness is constant. Every sound, a distant cough, the shift of a door, the rustle of a tunic, signals potential action. Even in the stillness, he positions himself to respond immediately, maintaining invisibility while ensuring readiness. The anticipation itself is a form of labor. Mind and body remain attuned, muscles tense yet flexible, senses sharp. Preparation reduces mistakes and prevents the attention of overseers, protecting both himself and the household's smooth operation. Though the day is only beginning, he is already engaged. Each movement, each thought, each calculation ensures the continuity of service. Anticipation is survival, shaping the rhythm of the household before anyone else is awake, and it is a skill cultivated quietly, invisibly, yet indispensably. As dawn approaches, the day's cycle starts once more. He moves through the household with practiced precision, retracing familiar steps, checking fires, fetching water, and ensuring spaces are prepared for the family and other slaves. The rhythm is seamless, built from countless repetitions, each motion anticipatory, silent, and invisible. The city beyond the walls begins to stir. Distant carts, the clatter of footsteps, and voices of merchants calling prices. Yet he remains within the household, bound to its demands, a shadow moving through spaces that are simultaneously alive and unaware of him. The cycle is relentless. Each day mirrors the last, defined not by choice but by necessity. Success is measured in invisibility. The smoother the household functions, the less attention is drawn to the labor that sustains it. His efforts leave no trace except the seamless operation of the world around him. Even as fatigue and repetition weigh upon him, he continues. Each dawn brings another day of silent endurance, repeated gestures, and careful anticipation. The household depends on his constancy. The city moves without him, and his life persists in a pattern that is both ordinary and extraordinary in its quiet resilience. The day begins, as it always has and always will, with him moving unseen, necessary, and invisible, the eternal cycle of labor that defines his existence. Even within the endless flow of labor, he notices details others overlook. The flicker of sunlight on a polished surface, the subtle scent of herbs simmering in a pot, the pattern of shadows shifting across the floor. These small moments are quietly observed and catalogued. They belong to him alone, private fragments of awareness, tucked between tasks. Observation is both survival and solace. By noticing patterns in the household, the habits of the family, the routines of other slaves, he anticipates needs, avoids mistakes, and moves efficiently. Knowledge of small details reduces risk and maintains invisibility, yet also provides a subtle connection to the world around him. These glimpses are fleeting, often unnoticed even by himself, but they offer a private sense of engagement. In the quiet of corridors, kitchens, or shadowed corners, he becomes both participant and observer, shaping his understanding of the household without ever altering its perception of him. Through these small moments, he maintains a sense of agency. However limited, though invisible, he is aware, alert, and present, anchored in the rhythm of life around him, yet detached enough to preserve his own inner world. His labor is constant, essential, and yet completely unseen. The household functions because of him, yet recognition never comes. Meals are prepared, floors are clean, fires are tended, children are cared for, and visitors are impressed, all without acknowledgement of his presence. This invisibility is both protection and burden. It shields him from the scrutiny of those above, but it also erases his existence from the narrative of daily life. The weight of being unseen rests on both body and mind. Fatigue is compounded by silence, effort unrecognized, and the relentless repetition of tasks. Each day blurs into the next, yet he must maintain perfection or face consequence. And still, invisibility offers subtle power. By moving unnoticed, anticipating needs, and controlling the flow of labor, he shapes the household in ways that are invisible to those who inhabit it. The family and overseers are oblivious to the skill, attention, and endurance required to sustain their comfort. Invisibility is survival, discipline, and endurance carried with quiet dignity. It is a heavy mantle, yet one he bears daily, moving through the household like a shadow that keeps the world functioning while remaining outside of it. As the household finally rests, he allows himself a rare moment of reflection. The day has passed, as it always does, tasks completed, expectations met, and labor performed without recognition. He considers the small victories, meals perfectly prepared, fires tended, spills avoided, children cared for, errors prevented. These are his accomplishments, though unseen by anyone else. Reflection is private, silent, and often fleeting. He measures success not by praise or acknowledgement, but by the smooth functioning of the household. Each task completed, each disruption averted, reinforces his role, his skill, and his survival. In these moments, he contemplates the invisible rhythm of his life: repetition, endurance, anticipation, and the delicate balance between duty and self-preservation. Even in invisibility, there is purpose, a quiet assertion of control over the small corners of the world that depend on him. Though unnoticed, his labor is the foundation upon which the household operates. Reflection allows him to witness, internally, the impact of his unseen work, and to carry it forward, sustaining both body and mind for the cycle that will begin again at dawn. The household lies in darkness, yet his duties are not entirely finished. Torches flicker and die, fires smolder low, and water must be checked or drawn for the next day. Small adjustments are made quietly, a misplaced cloth straightened, utensils arranged, and spaces prepared to ensure the morning unfolds smoothly. Even in apparent rest, the household depends on his vigilance. Silence surrounds him, but he moves with care, aware that any misstep could disturb the fragile calm. The city outside is distant, filled with the muffled sounds of late-night activity, yet he remains tethered to the household, a quiet sentinel, maintaining order in shadow. Even as others sleep, his presence preserves the continuity of life within these walls. Every act of unseen maintenance ensures that when dawn comes, the household will function seamlessly. His labor, though invisible, is enduring a constant thread, weaving through the life of the family he serves. Through night and into early morning, he continues, sustaining the rhythm of the household while remaining unseen, unnoticed, and indispensable. The first hints of light touch the rooftops of Rome, and the cycle begins anew. He rises quietly, muscles stiff but practiced, senses alert to every sound, shadow, and movement. The household stirs slowly. Fires must be tended, water drawn, floors checked, and meals prepared. The city beyond the walls begins to hum, but he is already immersed in duty. Each day mirrors the last. Labor performed without acknowledgement. Mistakes avoided, tasks completed with silent precision. The world outside moves freely, while he operates in the background, shaping the household's smooth functioning through invisible effort. Yet within this repetition there is rhythm, skill, and quiet mastery. He knows the flow of the household, anticipates needs, and ensures continuity. Invisibility is both burden and protection, erasing him from recognition but safeguarding his role and survival. As dawn brightens, he steps into the familiar cadence of labor, body and mind attuned to the unending cycle. Another day begins identical in routine, yet unique in its details, and he moves forward, unseen, indispensable, and enduring the silent force, sustaining the life of others in the eternal heartbeat of Rome.